Hi, I'm Florence Theriault from Theriault the Dollmasters, and I wanted to talk to you today about American dolls from the fabulous 50s, some of the most beautiful dolls that have ever been made in time. In 1860 and 1870 in France, we consider that the golden age of the French doll. Wonderful experimental dolls were coming on the market, innovative bodies, new facial designs, and always an emphasis on fashion. Fast forward 100 years, 1950. It's now post-World War II, and the world is starting to come back and think about sort of everyday things like beautiful dolls for children. Some of the doll-making firms at that time were able to make use of one of the newfound materials, plastic. Again, very similar to the French market 100 years previously, where they were experimenting with gutta percha and kid and wood to try to make wonderful doll bodies. Now, the American doll makers were able to experiment with using plastic. And they were concerned with reviving the American fashion industry. Madame Alexander, in particular, in New York, was very, very involved with the entire New York fashion industry for real people, not just for dolls. And so she worked very, very hard to make her dolls exquisite specimens of superb fashion. And I'm going to show you a few of them for the more than 450 lots that we have presented in our new catalog, The Fabulous 50s. This is a wonderful doll who appears on the cover of the catalog, and she's commonly known as the Lucy Bride. We don't know if she was marketed that way. The doll is so rare, only a few are known to exist. And if you look at her gown, at first you think it's a little perhaps a little darkened, but no, it's not. It is made of the palest, palest rose fabric that you could ever imagine, with this extraordinary Medici-style coif around her head, the coronet of flowers. The reason the doll is known as the Lucy Bride is the costume is, I read this and I thought, oh, that's not possible, someone made that up. The costume is a replica of the wedding gown worn by Lucille Ball in her movie Forever Darling, from the beginning of the 1950s. So you can go online and you can find posters or images from that time period, and you will see that that is exactly a copy of the wedding gown worn by Lucille Ball. And it's so distinctive that it's quite recognizable. A magnificently preserved sissy doll by Madame Alexander with that costume. And now on this side is another doll that has a celebrity name. She's known as, also by Madame Alexander, as the Katherine Grayson doll, and because her costume is so superb. She is from the very, very rare portrait series produced by Madame Alexander at the very beginning of the 1950s, and I want you to see some of the detail of the side of her hair, how beautifully stitched it is through here, the way the flowers are presented on here. Wonderful, like double stitching of the seam of the hair. Very, very perfectly done. These were not casual wigs. These were not casual costumes in any way. You can see that her painting is distinctly different than the sissy dolls that were made from the time period. Very, very different hand painting of brows. Very unique, definitely designed to be a portrait. The gown is just literally sprinkled with rhinestones on this wonderful embroidered lace. And then this is not naked here. This is tulle, very fine tulle to give almost like a naked look. And then the necklace of the same type of lace and rhinestones. On the other side is a doll that is so perfectly preserved as to absolutely take your breath away. She is another sissy bride, a very, very gorgeous doll from the series called A Child's Dream Come True by Madame Alexander. And what I'm going to turn her around so you can see the detail of her hair, but first let me tip it forward a little bit so you can see all of the curls there, and look at the detail of the coronet and also of the curls that are so perfectly preserved on this gorgeous doll. Costume is not just ivory, but it's a brocade ivory satin, and it has a wonderful delicate pattern that shows through it. Very, very beautiful. Although the sissy dolls are the main focus of the Alexander dolls that we're selling on November 11th, all from the Gail Gabbett collection of Honda, Texas, a very, very beautiful and highly specialized and sophisticated collection. We do have others as well, and I wanted you to see some very, very fine. I guess you can tell from the ones I've chosen to show you here that mauve or purple is one of my favorite colors, because we do have some very, very fine examples of dolls in every type. Madame Alexander made lady dolls, children dolls, historical fashion dolls, all different types. Here's a very, very beautiful model from her 1961 series of historical fashions, and a very rare one to find. One of the things that you'll notice right away is that she has that very desirable red hair, which is one of the rarer colors to find with the Alexander sissies, and quite desirable. And I want to show you her costume all the way around so you can just see how beautifully preserved and fine it is. I always look to find the really beautiful blushing on the cheeks of these dolls, and I know on some of the time periods that tend not to exist today, but when you can find them, you do really want to look for ones that have beautiful blushing, such as this doll has. It's the top of her head. Now, while she was being made, long before that time, is another little girl wearing this violet or mauve color, and of course you can know what her name is very, very appropriately. Her name is a doll named Violet. So clearly this was one of Madame Alexander's favorite colors too. And our Violet that we're selling at this auction has two different costumes. She has her beautiful white organdy dress with, do you see what's on it? Little violets. And it's worthwhile to point out to you that these fabric violets are not dissimilar to the painted floral pansies that we showed on the French fashion doll earlier today from an earlier time period. Violet has here her little cotton cap with violet flowers, violet velvet flowers. And then the very classic violet coat with a violet hat, her little hat box, and the story of a doll named Violet, a wonderful and rare Alexander doll. Well, Madame did love Violet, so here we go again. Sissy, three sissies here in fashionable day attire of the 1950s, and I always like to call these the Doris Day dolls because they remind me of Doris Day in the old Doris Day Rock Hudson movies, when she was always so perfectly dressed, and wearing heels and a best dress to take a roast out of the oven. But those were the times, and the fashions that Madame made perfectly exemplified the fashions of the times. You should, when you look at these dolls, look for little details like here, the inverted box pleat on the back of this beautifully flaring skirt. Really picked up fine couturier details, again, hearkening back to the 1860s in France, where the costumes that were made by the couturiers were perfect representations of clothes that real people wore. Madame Alexander did the same thing with her dolls. To not be considering these historical representation of fashion of the 50s today is a serious blunder on people's part. She even has perfect little accessories like the little watch on the chain and her dainty little flower at her collar. Another one, a very, very similar dress. This is almost the exact same style, but done in the blue and the blue and white. Very similar, as you can see. And then going back to mauve again, a little bit better dress and a very different use of color, very unusual color combinations on the mauve organdy dress with yellow trim, yellow sash, wonderful little lilac flowers, and tipping her up, look at the top of her hat, lilac flowers. Everything was beautifully done, beautifully chosen by Madame Alexander. She had superior taste. And what's interesting, I don't know that she ever had any formal fashion training or understanding, but she had a sense of history. And she had a sense that she wanted to take perfect materials, perfect fabrics, tissues, flowers, jewelry, and combine them into, like the baguette maker in France who won the award for the best baguettes in France, to take perfect materials and put them together with inspiration, with savoir-faire, for a wonderful masterpiece of a costume. At the same time, and I'll just show you these, and then I'll show you some other dolls from the 1950s. She made her little dolls. Her little, if we were back in France or Europe at this time, we were calling these little mignonettes. They're not mignonettes, they're just little miniature 8-inch dolls from Madame Alexander. And outstanding is her use of detail. Look at this wonderful tiny set of Romeo and Juliet. Madame Alexander was very inspired by films and theater that had become popular at the time. Witness, most famously, her fascination with Scarlett O'Hara from Gone with the Wind that had continued from the 1930s right on really until present day, where she continued to make wonderful Scarlett O'Hara dolls. Here, the movie Romeo and Juliet had just been released. In fact, he has a little booklet attached to him telling about that. And he is wearing his wonderful costume with, this time it's not mauve, it's deep royal purple. Little feather in his hat, little jewels. He's just absolutely wonderful. Is our red-headed Romeo. And our wonderful, wonderful little Juliet with her beautiful coloring, her long coat over her gown. Very, very exquisite. And of course, two little fanciful fairy-like children from that time period with their beautiful little leaf hats, studded with little rhinestones, matching vest, and this one as well. Just wonderful examples of many of the Alexander small dolls, the little mignonettes or miniatures of the Alexander Company.